Have you ever found yourself constantly drained and unhappy in a relationship, yet unable to figure out why? This is often the first sign that you're in a toxic relationship. But what exactly does it mean to be in a toxic relationship? A toxic relationship is essentially an unhealthy partnership that leaves you feeling drained, dejected, and often disrespected. It's a relationship where the bad times outweigh the good, and where you're left feeling worse about yourself as a result. Now, recognizing a toxic relationship can be a bit tricky. Why? Because it often involves emotional manipulation and the normalization of harmful behaviors. You might find yourself making excuses for your partner's actions, brushing off your feelings, or even blaming yourself for the issues in the relationship. This is a classic sign of a toxic relationship, where the blame is often shifted away from the person causing the harm. But why is it so important to recognize a toxic relationship? Well, your mental and emotional well-being are at stake. Staying in a toxic relationship can lead to anxiety, depression, and a host of other mental health issues. It's important to protect yourself from this kind of harm, and that begins with recognizing the signs of a toxic relationship. Some of these signs could be constant criticism from your partner, a lack of respect, control issues, and a general feeling of unease and unhappiness in the relationship. If the scales of give and take are always tipped in one direction, that's another red flag. But remember, recognizing these signs doesn't mean you're weak or a failure. It's quite the opposite. It means you're strong enough to acknowledge the situation for what it is. And that's the first step towards change. So if you're feeling drained, unhappy, and disrespected, take a step back and evaluate your relationship. Are these feelings occasional, or are they a constant theme? If it's the latter, you might be in a toxic relationship. Remember, the first step towards leaving a toxic relationship is recognizing its existence. Don't be afraid to put your mental and emotional health first. You deserve a relationship that nurtures and respects you, not one that drains and diminishes you. So, what are the signs that you're in a toxic relationship? Well, let's dive right into it. First off, constant criticism. This isn't about the occasional constructive feedback that helps you grow. No, we're talking about an unending stream of negative comments that belittles you and chips away at your self-esteem. It's when your partner points out your flaws more than they celebrate your strengths. Next up, control and manipulation. This can be as conspicuous as dictating who you can or cannot see, or as subtle as making you feel guilty for spending time with others. They may use emotional blackmail, making you feel bad for wanting something different than they do. It's a clear sign when you find yourself doing things you don't want to do just to keep the peace. Now let's talk about lack of respect. In a healthy relationship, both parties respect each other's boundaries, values, and individuality. But in a toxic one, your partner might disrespect your boundaries, mock your values, or try to change who you are. And then there's the feeling of walking on eggshells. This is when you're constantly worried about upsetting your partner, always checking your words and actions to avoid conflict. It's when the fear of your partner's reactions controls how you live your life. It's important to remember, though, that one or two instances of these behaviors do not necessarily constitute a toxic relationship. We all have our moments. But if these signs are a consistent pattern, if they're making you feel less of yourself, then you might be in a toxic relationship. Now, you might be wondering, why is it important to recognize these signs? Well, the answer is simple. Identifying these signs is the first step towards addressing the issue. It's about understanding what's happening in your relationship and taking control of your own happiness. Being aware of these signs can help you assess your relationship objectively. It can provide you with the clarity you need to make the best decision for your emotional health and well-being. What impact can a toxic relationship have on your emotional well-being? It's a question that's likely crossed your mind if you've ever found yourself in a relationship that feels more draining than fulfilling. Toxic relationships don't just leave you feeling emotionally exhausted. They can have serious repercussions on your overall emotional health, often leading to feelings of anxiety and depression. Imagine constantly walking on eggshells, worrying about when the next argument will erupt or when the next wave of criticism will hit. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it can leave you feeling perpetually on edge, anxious, and emotionally drained. Depression is another common outcome of toxic relationships. When love, which is supposed to bring joy and happiness, turns into a source of constant stress and unhappiness, it's not surprising that it can lead to feelings of sadness and hopelessness. You might start to question your worth, wondering why you're not enough to make the relationship work. Low self-esteem is another byproduct of toxic relationships. If you're constantly belittled, criticized, or made to feel inferior, it's only natural that your self-esteem would take a hit. You might start to believe the negative things your partner says about you, and this can have a lasting impact on how you view yourself and your worth. Toxic relationships can also lead to feelings of isolation. If your partner tries to control who you see and what you do, you might find yourself increasingly isolated from friends and family. This isolation can compound feelings of depression and anxiety, making it even harder to cope with the toxicity of the relationship. And these emotional effects can extend beyond the relationship itself. They can seep into other aspects of your life, affecting your performance at work, your relationships with others, and your enjoyment of life. The emotional toll of a toxic relationship can be heavy, but remember, you don't have to carry it alone. You can seek help and support, and there are strategies to leave a toxic relationship and rebuild your life, but that's a topic for another day. How do you break free from a toxic relationship? To many, this question might seem daunting, but let me assure you, it's not only possible, but it's a journey well worth embarking on. Firstly, it's essential to reach out to trusted friends or family. These are the people who love you, who want the best for you, and who will stand by you. They can provide emotional support, practical advice, and a shoulder to lean on when times get tough. Remember, you're not alone in this. Secondly, there's no shame in seeking professional help. Therapists, counselors, and support groups can provide invaluable guidance and resources. They can help you navigate the complexities of your situation and equip you with the tools you need to move forward. Next, let's talk about setting boundaries. This can be a challenging step, especially if you're used to putting the other person's needs before your own. But it's crucial. Boundaries allow you to protect your mental and emotional well-being. They give you the space and time you need to heal and grow. And remember, it's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize your needs. And lastly, self-care. It's not just about bubble baths and chocolates, though those can be lovely. Self-care is about acknowledging your worth, nurturing your emotional health, and taking steps to ensure your happiness. It can be as simple as taking a walk in the park, reading a book, or just taking a moment to breathe and center yourself. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't easy. It can be messy, painful, and filled with uncertainty. But it's also a journey of self-discovery, growth, and resilience. It's a journey that leads to a healthier, happier you. So take that step. Reach out, seek help, set boundaries, and practice self-care. You're stronger than you think and more deserving than you may believe. Leaving a toxic relationship can be difficult, but it's a crucial step towards better mental and emotional health. What does life look like after leaving a toxic relationship? Well, it's a journey of healing, self-discovery, and growth. It's about taking the time to heal the wounds inflicted by the toxicity. And it's about learning to love yourself again, perhaps even more than you did before. Imagine a garden after a long, harsh winter. It may seem barren, lifeless, but underneath the surface there's a life force, a resilience that's waiting for the right conditions to flourish. That's what it's like after leaving a toxic relationship. You're the garden, and it's time to nurture yourself back to blooming. Self-love and self-care are crucial during this healing process. Self-love isn't just about feeling good about yourself. It's about valuing your own happiness, your own well-being, and your own life. It's about understanding that you are worthy of love, respect, and kindness, and it's about setting boundaries to protect these values. Self-care, on the other hand, is about taking actions that support your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It could be as simple as taking a walk in the park, reading a good book, or having a relaxing bath. It could also mean seeking help from professionals, such as therapists or counselors, to help navigate through the emotional aftermath of a toxic relationship. But remember, healing is not a linear process. There will be good days and bad days, and that's okay. It's part of the journey. You're not alone, and it's okay to seek help and support from family, friends, or support groups. Rebuilding your life after a toxic relationship is like constructing a new house. You have the chance to design it the way you want, with the lessons you've learned. You're the architect of your own life, and you have the power to build a life filled with love, respect, and happiness. Leaving a toxic relationship is the first step towards a healthier, happier you. Remember, you deserve love and respect in all your relationships.